Poitiers, 1146. The eve of the Crusade, in an age when queens were meant to kneel. One woman dared to rule. Eleanor of Aquitaine defied a king, married a lion, and set two empires ablaze. Her choice to leave Louis of France and wed Henry of England did not just change her fate. It changed the course of Western history, birthing centuries of war, blood, and legend. This is the story of the queen who split a continent and forged her name in fire. Chapter 1. The Caged Queen. The eve of the Crusade. The bells of Saint-Pierre tolled vespers as the Duchess of Aquitaine, Queen of France by marriage, prisoner by circumstance, stood at the narrow window of her chamber. Outside, the sky was the color of steel dipped in wine. Eleanor watched it bleed. Behind her, a palace murmured with priests and courtiers. Always priests. Always men who spoke of her soul as though they owned it. Louis, her husband, prayed in the adjoining chapel, his voice low and fervent. He had been meant for the church. Even now, with the weight of the crown on his head, he looked more monk than king. The smell of incense clung to his robes and, to Eleanor, it had come to smell like the slow death of her youth. She turned from the window as her attendant entered. "Your Majesty, the king requests that you accompany him to Mass." "Does he request, or does he command?" Eleanor's tone was honeyed steel. The girl bowed her head. "He asks, my lady." Eleanor smiled, a flicker of humor behind eyes that rarely softened. "Then I will go. But he will not like the dress I choose." 2 hours later, the royal chapel of Bourges, the chapel was packed with nobles and clerics, the air thick with candle smoke and murmured prayer. Louis knelt at the altar rail, pale, ascetic, his fingers trembling on the crucifix. Eleanor entered like sunlight through storm clouds, gold thread glimmering on her gown, her hair unbound, a scandalous display for a queen. A bishop's whisper hissed through the crowd. Louis lifted his gaze, and for an instant the gentle devotion in his eyes turned to reproach. When Mass ended, he approached her quietly. "You make it hard for them to see the piety of their queen." Eleanor's smile was thin. "Perhaps I wish them to see the strength of their duchess." "Pride is not strength, and submission," she said, "is not virtue." The courtiers turned away, pretending not to listen, though the silence between king and queen rang louder than the bells. Later, their private chamber, Louis sat at the edge of the bed, fingers laced, head bowed. "We leave for the Holy Land within the month. You will pray with me for victory and purity." "I will pray," she said, "for clarity." He looked up. "You doubt the crusade?" "I doubt many things, my lord. That God demands blood to prove devotion. That France gains holiness from dead men. That my counsel, my birthright, means less than a monk's whisper in your ear." He rose, his thin frame trembling with the effort. "You speak as though you were above God's will." "No," she said softly, "only above men who pretend to know it." Louis turned away, his jaw set. "Your pride will damn you, and your piety," she replied, "will bury you." Antioch. 2 years later, the crusade was a march through dust and disaster. In the heat of Syria, armor rusted, tempers burned, and Louis's God seemed far away. Eleanor found solace not in her husband, but in her uncle, Raymond of Poitiers, Prince of Antioch. Raymond was everything Louis was not: vital, laughing, a soldier who understood the language of power. In the gardens of his palace, they spoke of strategy, of maps, of alliances. "You see too much," Raymond told her once, pouring wine into a silver cup. "You were born to rule, not to be ruled." "And yet," she said, "I wear a crown that cages me." "Then find the key, niece, even if it means breaking the lock." It was a dangerous thing to say, and she never forgot it. Return to France. 1149. They came home defeated. Louis's crusade ended in shame and suspicion. He spoke little to Eleanor, and when he did, it was of repentance and sin. The courtiers whispered of her closeness to Raymond, of scandal in Antioch. In the great hall of Paris, the king's advisers met to discuss the future. Eleanor sat silent beside her husband until one cardinal dared to suggest, "Perhaps, sire, the lack of a male heir is God's judgment." Her gaze snapped to him. "Or perhaps," she said, "it is his mercy." The room froze. Louis flushed crimson. That night, he prayed alone in the chapel. Eleanor watched from the shadows of the corridor, watched the man who feared his wife more than he loved her, the man who would rather kneel before heaven than stand beside her. And in that moment she made her decision.